There are a lot of weapons in Cold War, from assault rifles to shotguns, SMGs to LMGs, pistols to rocket launchers. Some weapons are S tier, the undisputed kings of killing, whilst others, they're best left forgotten. So much choice can make it difficult to know what to use when fighting the zombie hordes. One question that keeps getting asked is, what is the best weapon in Cold War zombies? To know a weapon's capability, you need to go depth. Damage, ease of use, ammo capacity, and fire rate. Everything you need to think about. Let's start with the most important aspect.
No, that's a lot of...
Knowing that a gun can kill and keep killing into the high rounds is key when it comes to finding the best weapon in the game. All we've got to do is figure out what guns have the highest damage. Simple. Whoo, how wrong I was. Before we get into the game, we can buff the max damage these guns do. How? Skill trees. You can boost the critical damage of nearly all weapons by 25%. Along with that, you can get weapon class specific damage boosts like close range, long range, armor, and boss. With that, we're finally ready to deploy and get into some weapon stats. This used to be pretty simple. Upgrade your weapon to legendary quality and pack a punch it 3 times, following this simple rule. The key word is used to. The mid-season 3 update changed everything. All guns were buffed and had their pack a punch upgrade values changed as well. Every damage multiplier is unique for every single gun in the game. That's 50 different guns with 8 different upgrade values. That's 400 different damage values to work out. I'll be back when it's all done. That was the most painful month of my life. Don't get me wrong, I knew working out all the damage values would take some time, but spending 1 month of my life just staring at numbers coming up the screen seems excessive. Saying that, I got more efficient as the games went on. Crank 2 really saved me a lot of time, and learning the high round speedrun strats helped out a lot to get this done as fast as possible. When it comes to explosive weapons, they have such erratic damage values. If we look at the ray gun as an example, they have a base amount of damage and a varying value of splash damage. Testing and retesting these guns, trying to get the highest damage output on each, but it's a roll of the dice each time. With that, I present you the most statistically accurate weapon damages chart. Whoa, hold up past me, I've got some bad news. As soon as the video is edited and ready to publish, Mauer Tone is released. I'm thinking great, new map, finally. But buried in the patch notes, zombies max health is being changed once again. Going from 4 times the original health down to 2. Meaning all the calculations have to be redone and reworked to meet this new number. Plus melee weapons and sniper rifles have been given a silent buff. So I'll be right back with these new stats. Back for the second and last time to bring you the most accurate weapon damages chart. Here it is. I know, don't get too excited. If you want to see this chart through your own eyes, I'll have it linked in the description below. Let me run you through some of the numbers. First off, the numbers are an OCD sufferer's nightmare. Just look at the state of this. Secondly, specials and wonder weapons are just like an esports pro. They're untouched. No upgrade whatsoever. Upgrade values vary between 32 to 40, but some are just under and some are just over. And the shotguns completely break the scales. But what good are these damage numbers without knowing the maximum health that a zombie can reach? I could go to around 100, get an insta kill and see what damage number pops out. But why go through that effort when others have made it there before? I'll just Google Cold War zombies around 100. And look, thanks to Reddit user Amnesties, we know that max health of a zombie is 60,000. Now we can work out the shot to kill ratio of every gun. And here they are. But this is only the start of what the max damage can be. Remember all those damage boosts I said about earlier? This is where they come back into play. When it comes to playing round based maps, you'll never get far enough away to get long shots with tactical rifles and assault rifles, so their boost can be discounted. All other boosts are 25% extra damage, getting the highest damage potential to this. Now this is where it gets complicated. Tier 5 Deadshot is the most confusing and brain-bending thing to calculate. After a brutally long time researching Deadshot, I've come up with this calculation chart. This is the closest I can get to the actual in-game numbers. Deadshot is by far the best way of increasing gun damage. It cuts down the shot to kill ratio of any gun by a hefty margin. So far we've only used the guns with no attachments, completely naked. Oi oi! So it's time to head to the gunsmith and add the best barrel to each gun. The damage buffs vary from as tiny as 3% up to a colossal 52%. Working out the new damage values, you can see the usefulness of what a good barrel does to your gun. Some guns are not worth adding a barrel to, as they don't increase the shot to kill ratio, so you're better off increasing armor damage or fire rate. I do try Ring of Fire to increase the damage, but that just makes every gun have one shot potential. Plus it is only a temporary buff, unlike all the other buffs, so we can ignore it. With every conceivable way of increasing damage calculated, what gun has the best shot to kill ratio? The Hauer, the Sigma 2, the Die Shockwave? All wrong, it's the ZRG 20mm. Having a shot to kill ratio of 0.379 and doing 158,400 damage, complete overkill. Next up is the Pennington, with a ratio of 0.496 and a damage of 121,000, solidifying its place at number 2. Coming in third is the Tundra, making it a full house of snipers for the top 3 spots. coming close to the Pennington in both shot to kill and damage, with a shot to kill of 0.524 and 114,478 damage. So, are these the top 3 guns in the game? Nowhere near. Well, let me show you why not. It's all well and good having a gun that can hit like a runaway train, but if it has a fire rate slower than dial-up internet, it becomes difficult to use. It's all about finding the middle ground, where power meets speed. But how do we find this mystical place? 3 words: time to kill. It is the gold standard for knowing if a gun is worth touching. All we've got to do is take the shot to kill ratio and divide it by the rounds per second. We may have RPM figures, but not for all guns. There's some gaps in the information, plus pack-a-punching a few guns changes their fire rate and fire modes. So add finding every gun's RPM to the laundry list of tasks that need doing. How do you work out the RPM of every gun? That one question puzzled me for a while. I could sit here, start a timer, counting how long it took to empty a magazine, but how can you tell when the first bullet exits the gun? How quick is my reaction time to see it? There's so much human error that can occur. Then, while staring at my editing timeline, it hit me. We go frame by frame to see when the first bullet leaves the gun. Not looking at the gun animations, but at the HUD. As soon as this number drops by 1, count each individual frame until it hits 0. So, if it takes 60 frames for a gun to completely empty its magazine, and the footage is recorded in 60 FPS, it's a simple calculation. Take the frames, divide it by the FPS, and we get the time taken to empty our whole magazine. Let me get those numbers, and we'll reconvene in one time card later. Now we have all these times, we can unify the data into something comparable. Just divide the magazine size by the time to empty said magazine, and we get the rounds per second. Take this, multiply by 60, and we get the rounds per minute. Super simple. Saying that, the data I have for some guns varies greatly compared to the given RPM in game. But if all my data is seen through the same lens, I don't see a problem here. Now, to get back to the important stat we need, time to kill. Looking back at the ZRG, it may kill in one shot, but its fire rate is so poor that the time to kill is 1.422 seconds, which is completely overshadowed by the fastest time to kill weapon, that is the full auto shotgun, known as the Street Sweeper. I may have completely trashed this gun when it first came out, but with a time to kill of 0.195 seconds, it tops the charts. Looking at the top 3 guns, we have the RPG at number 2 with a time of 0.25 seconds. Then coming in third place is the M16 with a time of 0.251 seconds. If we flip the table upside down and look at the top 10, we've got the fists, right at the bottom. A shock, I know. 2 wonder weapons occupying spots 42 and 43, now that's a little more shocking. Also in that list, we've got the other launcher. One tops the table, while the other hangs on at the end.
It's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
And sadly, my favourite gun pre-update, the R1 Shadowhunter, is down in 44th. I'm not angry, just disappointed. Before I start crying, I think it's time we moved on. A gun can do its job without the ammunition it carries, and carrying more ammo in a zombie apocalypse just goes without saying. But being a one-man army brings its negative effects. Looking at the snipers, the update made their ADS speed so much slower, and adding a great big girthy mag to one also reduces the ADS speed. And looking at weapon damages, we want to use Deadshot's effects as much as we can, so aiming down sights is essential to being an effective killer. It's all about finding the middle ground, and I think I found it. You want to be using the biggest, fastest mag on all guns, apart from the snipers, where the slightly larger fast mags are the best. But keep in mind, when pack-a-punching, the mag size increases and so does the reserve ammo. Based on raw data, there's one gun that stands out, and that is the PPSH. It has so much ammo, it breaks the game, and it can't display the correct amount of ammo it truly has. Honestly, the max ammo capacity isn't as important as it once was in earlier COD games. You can now just restock ammo crates for 5,000 points, and in later rounds, points aren't an issue. So, if we use the number of kills you can get per magazine, it gives us a better idea of how efficient every gun is. Once again, we go back to our old friend, the shot to kill ratio, to find out how many kills you can get per mag. Quickly, one point I have to make is that technically the melee weapons have the best amount of ammo, as they have a magazine size of 0 and they shoot 0 shots. 0 divided by 0 is just a big fat error. Discarding the melee weapons, the most efficient weapon is the Street Sweeper. Once again, it cleans up and takes top spot, with a huge 45 kills per mag. Looking at the rest of the top 10, we can see other familiar weapons, like the M16, PPSH, Gallo and the KSP. And at the other end of the table, we've got all the specials and launchers, along with the Ray K and the Die Shockwave. These wonder weapons don't seem so wonderful anymore. Maybe, just maybe, they can make up for it in this final section. We'll just have to wait and see. Right now. Ease of use is a broad term for a lot of stats that can be boiled down into one ideology. How easy is it to use? That's things like a gun's recoil, fire mode, movement speed, sprint speed, splash damage, ADS speed, movements while firing, sprint to fire time. It's just about personal preference. You could use a gun that has crazy recoil with no problem, but can you be bothered to put in all that effort just to control it? Or you could use a launcher and have to deal with its splash damage. Question is, do you really want to put in all that effort to not kill yourself with every shot you take? It is all up to you. I can tell you that the KSP is better than the LC10, which it is by the way, but do you have the skill to use a burst fire SMG over one that's full auto? Just keep these things in mind when it comes time for me to tell you what the best weapon is statistically, and it's coming sooner than you think. Creating a ranking system is pretty simple in my eyes. Take a gun and give it a score from 1 to 50 based on its ranking in that specific aspect, with the highest rank getting the highest score. So for example, the ZRG ranked number 1 in damage, so it will get a score of 50, and the Fist ranked 50th, so it will score 1. Working this out for damage, fire rate and ammo, we get a number that perfectly describes how good a gun is compared to the rest. Let's go category by category, seeing which weapon comes out on top in each. Starting off with the SMGs. With a score of 103, it's the KSP. Who would have thought that overall the burst fire SMG would top the group? Mainly due to it being the best in both damage and fire rate over the other SMGs. Moving on to the assault rifles, we've got the AK-47 on 67 points. The AK has middling stats all the way through, but the FFAR is only 1 point behind on 66 points, and has statistically the worst damage, scoring only 2 points, but makes up for it massively thanks to its insane fire rate and LMG sized magazine. The points are so close, this is where personal preference comes into play. What would you rather use? Next up is the TAC rifles, and unsurprisingly we see a fan favourite with 118 points, it's the M16. We all know how good this gun is. The damage is nothing to shout about, but the sheer speed it can get those rounds out is insane. For the LMGs, it's an 80s action stars favourite, the M60 on 84 points. The damage and time to kill is how this gun edges out all the others in this category. So, throw away that stoner you've been hanging on to for so long and pick up statistically the best LMG. The king of the snipers is the semi-auto slayer, the M82. It was a close one between this on 98 points and the Pellington on 93 points. The M82's fire rate is really what puts this on top. It has the second worst damage for a sniper and the worst ranking on ammo. There is a clear winner when it comes to pistols. With a score of 97, it's the Diamatti. It's just an all-round good pistol, only really shining with its fire rate, but still getting beat out by the MP63. Speaking of the other guns in this category, they are only separated by 1 point each. The AMP63 on 76, the 1911 on 75, and the Magnum on 74. The shotguns are where some of the best weapons in the game are kept. The Street Sweeper comes out on top, with a crazy score of 135, but in close second is the Gallo on 130 points. That leaves the Howard in third place, on a respectable 93 points. You know what you're going to get when it comes to a shotgun. High damage and a fast time to kill. On the opposite end of the scale are the specials. Winning is the ballistic knife, smashing all the other specials out of the water, with a score of 83 compared to a meek 41 and 25. The specials suffer so much as they have a poor time to kill and a small ammo count. Jumping back to the top tier weapons, the melee weapons. The best melee weapon you should be using is the E-tool, scoring 114 points. The only thing that separates the melee weapons is their swing speed and their time to kill. For weapons that are basically a knife reskin, their time to kill varies massively, with the E-tool being the 28th fastest and the sledgehammer being ranked 47th out of 50. Next up is the launchers, with the RPG beating out the Sigma 83 to 41. The only thing that really lets the launchers down are the lack of ammo and tiny magazine size. They can't even kill one zombie when the health is maxed out at 60,000. It's not really a viable option in the long run. Finally, we come to the wonder weapons, and I have to say they're quite disappointing when it comes to the overall scores. Just look at how low these scores are. Just comparing them to some average guns, you can see how outclassed they are, which doesn't make any sense in my mind. They're supposed to be the strongest weapons in the game, but looking at all the stats, they have average damage, terrible time to kills, and even worse kills per mag. And they cost the most to replenish their ammo. If we rank the weapon classes overall, we can see the shotguns are the best, followed by the melees, and then the tac rifles, with the assaults, specials and wonder weapons occupying the bottom slots. With that, all the best guns in every category are covered. We can move on to the biggest question: what is the best gun overall? The best gun in COD Cold War, based on verifiable data, is the Street Sweeper. It has crazy damage that can kill in one shot. Couple that with being full auto, you can blast your way through a horde of zombies in a blink of an eye. But I don't like it. Listen, it is statistically the best gun in the game, but you remember the personal preference I was talking about. Personally, I hate shotguns. You've got to be so close to the zombies to get that 25% damage boost. Every shot you take is split into 5 separate pellets, and they've all got to hit the head for maximum damage. And the main one in my eyes is that they're just not fun to use. Just point, click and get that kill. I want to at least use a bit of skill or finesse when playing zombies. After a while, you get bored playing zombies. It happens to us all. You've gone so many rounds and just start to feel the strain. And for me, the shotguns bring that to the forefront so much faster. So for me, looking further down the rank list, I'd rather use the M16, the KSP or even the AUG. The joy of COD Cold War is that there is such a variety of guns that you could use. You may struggle with some, but they're still a fun challenge to use. I'll have every table linked down below in a Google spreadsheet for you to peruse at your own leisure, so you can get to the finer details of every gun that didn't star in the video. And finally, you now know, what is the best weapon in Cold War Zombies? If you made it this far, thanks for watching. This video took way too long to make, but it was fun every step of the way. If you like this sort of content, like the video and follow for more videos just like this one. Also, I'll flash up my other socials if you want to follow them, and maybe, just maybe, I'll start using them again. One little thing of housekeeping, I'm moving all my shorts over to my second channel, just to make things look cleaner and clearer. At the moment, you can't really tell what is a long video and what are shorts. With that, I hope to see you here again soon. Until next time.